Good morning, class. We're going to cover multiplying real numbers and distributive rules. So again, we're still in review, but at least this time we'll have more material to cover that's more specifically related to Algebra 1. So there are a few rules with multiplication, some properties we need to know. So the sign in the product if you multiply two real numbers with the same sign, that is either positive times a positive or a negative times a negative, this will always be equal to a positive, okay? This is multiplication over here. But if you multiply a positive times a negative or a negative times a positive, what you will result with is a negative sign, okay? This is just the basics of the sign being whether we have positive or negative. Okay? Sign doesn't mean, it's kind of like signal. Sign means signal of what's going on. Okay. So here's a few problems in the book. So if you want to do them, negative 3 times 6, 2 times negative 5 times negative 4, negative 1/2 times negative 4 times negative 3. If you notice, this one has different signs. So this is going to end as a negative, and then 3 times 6 is 18. This one is going to be a positive because there's two of the same sign, and then one positive. So 2 times 5, 10 times 4 is 40. It's going to be 40. Notice this is 3 negatives, so two of them become one positive, and then there's still one negative. So 1/2 times 4, that is 2. 2 times 3 is 6, but it's negative 6. Again, you can always think of it this way. If you have an odd number of negatives multiplied together, you will have a negative, okay? Okay, properties of multiplication. These are the key ones you need to know. So again, we have commutative property. Okay, commutative property is going to be about order, right? Order in multiplication does not matter. Okay, order does not matter. This means that you can always rearrange stuff if you need to, and it will be the same. Okay, associative is about what you put together. It does not matter in multiplication what you associate. Okay, so associative property is always going to give you parentheses. But again, this is multiplication here. Okay, that's a multiplication slide. So if you multiply three things together, it's going to be the same as if you do this. Okay, this works only with multiplication by itself or addition by itself. It doesn't work with both of them together. Okay, so associative property, and you could kind of put of mult. Okay, so we're just not confused there. Okay, we have identity prop. Now again, this is of multiplication. Okay. Okay, the identity property is the identity, the number that's the multiplicative identity is actually 1. And you might be like, yeah, I know that. But just so you know. Now there's a property of 0. Okay, a property of 0 is if you multiply any number times 0, or 0 times any number, you will automatically get 0, okay? So 0 times anything, or anything times 0, you get 0, okay? And property of -1. And that just means if you multiply a number times -1, or -1 times the number, you get the opposite, okay? You get the opposite of the number, okay? Again, what's our multiplicative identity? Well, this is simply going to be 1, okay? Our multiplicative identity is 1, okay? Just a reminder, it's going to be the number 1, okay? We're actually going to do not practice, but we're going to do problems that are where you have to find out which property was used first and things like this. Now they are on Delta Math, so again, you will get a chance to keep practicing that. Okay, find the product, justify your steps. In this question, let's just look at the steps we take. So it's more breaking down what you did first and why you did it, okay? So this is example 3 in the book. It's -4x in parentheses times 0.25. Now the first step I will do is rearranging, which is commutative property. Okay, commutative means you can rearrange. So I'm actually going to set it up such that we have each thing separated. Okay, notice I rearranged it. Now I'm going to use associative to multiply these two first. Okay, remember parentheses. So I'm going to multiply these two first. Now 0.25 is just 1/4. Okay, that's actually a different rule altogether. But okay, what's these two multiplied together becomes -1. -1 times x is the multiplicative property of -1. So we get -x, okay? So that's a simple way of doing multiplication. Now, do you need to justify the steps? I would say not necessarily. What you do need to do, what you absolutely need to understand, is how to break it down into each step. Don't do it all in your head, okay? There are plenty of smart people who can do everything in their head. But what they end up running into is when you need to track too many things in your head, you will eventually make mistakes. Okay, so we need to put it down on paper so that we can actually see what's going on. Okay? Okay, and then there's a word problem where essentially you're going to write an equation for this. We'll talk about word problems soon enough, okay? We're kind of skipping over them for now. We'll be back to them. Okay, distributive property. The distributive property is, we'll cover in half in this video and then half in the next video, okay? It is the idea of combining two concepts together. Multiplication, what happens when you have multiplication and addition, okay? This is distribution. The opposite of this, the reverse of distribution, if distribution goes this way to put things together, then the opposite direction is called factor. Okay? Okay. So these two are our directions. Now this is a concept we will use more earlier and keep using. Factoring we'll use later and we'll continue to use later in math. Okay? So these are our two. We're going to cover distribution today. Okay? So next video we'll cover distribution.